everyone, welcome back. If you're new here, I'm Katie, and today I'm doing my September reading wrap-up. So this might be a fairly long video, so grab a beverage, grab a snack, and we're going to talk about books. So I did take part in the 30 books in 30 days reading challenge. That was for September. I will link the channel down below that was hosting the 30 books in 30 days. And did I complete it? Yes, I did. I am really happy about that. I actually went over. I think I hit 32, but I did take some shortcuts along the way, which was totally fine and totally up to your interpretation for the challenge. The mug of the day is Pinkie Pie because I think she's literally the only pink mug that I have, so I'm wearing a pink shirt. Technically, it's more peach, but Pinkie Pie's the mug for today. And she's my favorite pony. I have my reading journal handy, which has everything I need to do this video. So we are not going to talk about every single book that I read. I read, I believe, 22 full-length books. So we're going to talk about all of those. But I did end up reading 2 Archie comic books this month. When I was like running out of time during the night, I was like, I'm just going to slide in like, 100+ page Archie comic book. And then I also read 6 books of the Bible. So that was really great. That ended up being really nice. Now, if you're wondering why I'm like 2 books short of that total, it's because one I counted actually for last month's wrap-up, which was The Lost Library by Melissa Coastland, because I wanted it in my August wrap-up, so I'm not going to talk about it here. If you want to watch it, watch the other wrap-up, but it was great. And then the other one was a book by Angela Hunt, which I don't think I can tell you what it was. She posted it in her author group asking for readers to read it. I don't even think it comes out until like either next fall or even like the following spring. So I can't tell you anything about it, but I was able to read a very early copy of Angela Hunt's, one of her newer releases. So excited that I got a chance to read that, but I can't talk about it, so not that I know of. So anyways, all right. So I'll let you know what books of the Bible I read, in case you were wondering. They were all pretty short. I ended up finishing Philippians. I also read Ezra, Colossians, and 1st and 2nd Thessalonians, and 2nd Peter. So those are all of the books of the Bible that I ended up reading. So I did good. I got off a couple knocked off of my books of the Bible that I wanted to read this year. So yay, I'm getting closer to my goal of reading like the second half of the Bible this year. I don't know if I'll actually complete it, but I'm very close. All right, so I usually organize these by mainstream fiction and then Christian fiction. And then in mainstream, I usually go like middle grade YA adult. But if you ever want to see something, different in my wrap-ups, how you want me to organize, please feel free to leave a comment. I'm happy to do anything or try anything. So just let me know how you want me to categorize, or if you asked like a certain question for wrap-ups. Who knows? Be creative, think of something if you want something different. All right, so I'm going to go through the mainstream fiction first. I have 5 middle grade books that I read. So I honestly thought I was going to read a ton more middle grade. Actually, I didn't, so it surprised me. I ended up reading, the first one was called, well, actually, I did forget to talk about my DNFs, because I did have some. I had 8 DNFs in September. That was a hit. And honestly, I thought it was going to get me into a reading slump, but it did not, thankfully. So the ones I DNF'd, most likely for the obvious same reasons. But let's see. Deep as the Sky, Red as the Sea by Rita Chang Epig. It was okay to me. It was about a pirate queen who her husband got killed or something. And I was like, oh, that sounds interesting. But then it started talking a lot about like religion and false gods and stuff, which I know is, to that culture. But I also really didn't get into the story. And I was like, oh, because I don't know, I just could not get into the story at all. And then the next one I DNF'd was I Hate You More by Lucy Gilmore. Yeah, this one I believe got pretty explicit talking like almost right away. And I was like, really? So yeah, we skipped that one. And then I also skipped The Inheritance by Nora Roberts, which somebody did warn me about. And I never read anything by her, so I decided to try it. And like the first chapter, it was like talking about the main character finding her husband in bed with another woman. And I was like, no, thank you. I think I'm going to stop right there. So stopped reading that one. And then I stopped reading Maybe Next Time by Seska Major. And that one I DNF'd because I believe there was a lot of language in it. And so I was like, no, I'm good. Thank you. You know, once in a while, you know, like once every like 10 pages or something, I can get past. But like one or two, like almost every single page, I was like, no, I'm good. And then I also DNF'd The Art of Catching Feelings by Alyssa Thompson. I actually got pretty far in this one. And I think it did start getting explicit. And I was like, really? I think there was one love scene in it, and I'm sure there would have been more if I continued. So I was like, no, that's okay. Then I DNF'd The Best Way to Bury Your Husband by Alexia Casal. I really wasn't into it all that much, and it was set during 2020, and I'm like, I don't really feel like reading a book set in 2020 right now, so I was like, no, I'm okay right now. And then I also DNF'd, which was really sad. I was actually almost halfway through the book. For the most part, it was fairly clean, and that was the Lacerin by Diane Duvall. It was a beginning of a sci-fi series, and it was really good. I love the premise. It was like very X-Files. I was like, I'm enjoying this. But then there was one love scene, and then like I skipped ahead, and there was another one. I was like, no, that's okay. So skip that one. And then the last one I DNF'd was The Pumpkin Spice Cafe by Laurie Gilmore. And I actually didn't even start it because thankfully somebody did say there was explicit scenes in it, even though it looks really cute and fluffy. And it looks more like a cozy mystery. And no, it's not. It's actually pretty explicit. So I ended up skipping that one as well. All right. I have a headache today, so I do apologize if I sound weird. I think it's allergies. Like, man, everything's like up here in my head today. Ugh, I hate that. It feels the worst, honestly. So I'm probably going to be taking a nap later today. All right, on to the books that I actually finished. All right, let's start off with the middle grade, because I did say that in the beginning. So the first one was The Natural Genius of Ants by Betty Culley. It was a NetGalley arc that I was like, fine, I'm going to finally get through that one because I've had that one for years. So I did read it. I only gave it 2 stars. I did not like it. I am not much of a person who's a fan of insects and critters anymore. I was when I was little. Like I had pet ladybugs. I had, you know, a pet lizard and stuff. So like I was all into the bugs. I even had a ladybug funeral. Don't ask. That was a tragedy. But like I am not into insects anymore. They creep me out. And so honestly, that whole premise of like the ant farms and everything, and my phone's buzzing, sorry about that. And then the whole ant farm thing and everything, I was like, I'm just not interested. The storyline was kind of a little bit slow. In this one, it's about a man who takes his sons on a summer vacation, but the man is dealing with a lot of grief and a lot of stress and a lot of self-doubt. And because he is a doctor and an incident happened at the hospital and he wasn't ready for it. And so he's in depression and self-doubt and stuff. So he decides to take his sons on a summer vacation back where he grew up. And so they have a little bit of family bonding, which I did enjoy the family bonding, but overall the story just was very, very slow to me. And there was one relationship in it very near the end, but it was mentioned, and I'm like, really? In a children's book? No, that relationship should not be in a children's book or any book. So I was like, no, it's just mentioned, but yes, I was not happy about that. So only 2 stars. And then I read 2 Nancy Drew books, but one was 3 stars. That was Nancy's Mysterious Letter. And it was just okay for me. I'm finding out that, you know, when I was little, I used to like literally probably give all Nancy Drews 5 stars because I loved Nancy Drew. And I'm finding out that like some Nancy Drews just aren't my favorites anymore, you know? So this one was unfortunately just 3 stars. It was kind of a little bit on the more slow side for me for Nancy Drew. It mostly was set, I think, in her own hometown. Like, she didn't go actually out of the town. So I think I like more the ones when she starts to travel or starts to have more people from other parts of the world involved in her stories and stuff. But this one, I think she had like, the postman like delivered mail and he wasn't feeling well, I think. So like they gave him some food and stuff before he went, but then his mail ends up being stolen. And so they're trying to figure out why was the mail stolen, what's in the letters that could possibly want to be stolen. So I only gave it 3 stars, and that's okay. Next, middle grade, I have 2 4 stars. One was Crenshaw by Catherine Applegate. This one I really liked. It was really, really cute. It's about this boy who, I think he and his family are always like constantly moving, and all of a sudden one day he's like 12 years old, and all of a sudden there's this big cat, and I think in his bathtub or something, and he's like, who are you and what's going on? Like, there's a giant cat literally like 6 feet tall in my bathtub. What is going on? And he says that he was his make-believe friend growing up. And I'm like, and he's like, I no longer have make-believe friends. You're not real. What's going on? And so it was just a very, very sweet story. It was a little bit more on the sad side because the family is pretty much homeless. They have to move from town to town. So it does deal with homelessness, but also deals with like family and, you know, rallying together during the really, really hard times. And it was a really, really tough story to read, but it was also really good and really enjoyed it. And I loved, of course, the, you know, make-believe friends, because I always had make-believe friends. Then I read Forget Me Not, which, funny story is I forgot what it was about. So we're going to go back into my Goodreads because I did forget. I mean, can you blame me when I read 32 books this month? So Forget Me Not by Ellie Terry. Oh, yes. Okay. I remember now. And I did give it 4 stars because I did really enjoy it when I was reading it. It's about a girl who her mom like always gets involved with a relationship, and then the relationship doesn't work out and they end up moving out of state. So she is always really struggling to make friends, really struggling with everything in her life because her mom keeps moving. And it doesn't help that the girl in the book has Tourette's syndrome. And I really like how the author explained how it's literally only like 5 or 10% of people with Tourette's syndrome actually do blurt out swearing and stuff. It's more like tics or loud noises, or, you know, it's uncontrollable movements and sounds that you can't control. And so this lovely girl, she is hugely into astronomy, and so she has Tourette's syndrome, and so she ends up moving again to a new town, and she ends up meeting the boy next door. And this book does deal a lot with bullying, and so it deals a lot with that. But I really liked the progression of the characters and how they changed because of the characters, and I really liked the story, and I really liked the main character, Calliope. I really, really liked her character. And so she does make friends with the boy next door, but he's kind of also like the popular boy in the school. So he kind of like ignores her during school, but hangs out with her after. So it's kind of a story of like, you know, finding out, hey, you know, it's okay to be friends with somebody you actually want to be friends with, and it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks in your school. So I really enjoyed this story. I gave it 4 stars, loved it. Then I read a 5-star Nancy Drew book, which I did remember back in the day. It was one of my absolute favorites, and I was right. It's still a favorite, and that was The Clue of the Black Keys, which was one of my absolute favorites growing up. I remembered the cover. I was like, yep. I remember probably rereading this book like probably 5-6 times growing up. So this one, it's about a missing treasure, and there is a couple who possibly stole a part of a treasure map and a key. And so another archaeologist ends up wanting Nancy Drew's help, well, actually her father's help, but her father says, go to Nancy Drew, she'll be able to help you. And obviously, of course she does. I mean, she solves every single case. But I really enjoyed that one. That one was good. Now we're going into the adult fictions. Actually, no, I did have one YA actually. So we'll go to that one first. That one was 3 stars for me. And it was called Hotel Magnifique by Emily J. Taylor. This is actually for a vlog, which I don't know exactly when that's going to go up, because I'm still reading books for it. But it was pretty good. I would say if you're a fan of the Caraval series by Stephanie Garber, you will enjoy this one. I'm actually happy it was a standalone, because I don't honestly think I would have continued the series. It was just okay to me. Pretty much the same rating I gave Caraval. So as I said, if you like Caraval, I think you like Hotel Magnifique. So this one is about a girl, and there is like this mysterious hotel that like can appear and reappear in different places. And her sister really wants to work at the hotel. She's like, I really want to work there. And her sister's like, I don't think this is such a great idea. And turns out she's right. It's not such a great idea. So it does have magic, but it's more of like magician magic and illusions and stuff like that. It's not hugely like, a lot of magic or anything like that. So I did enjoy it. I did like the illusion part and stuff. And I think as far as like the romance goes and stuff, there wasn't anything past kissing scenes. There might have been like one like a heavy kissing scene, but like it wasn't past that. So I did like it, but it was just 3 stars for me. All right, now we're getting into the adult fiction. I think all these were adult fiction. Don't quote me though. I read Pull Me Under by Kelly Lucy. I actually do have a physical copy of that one. And this one I only gave 2 stars to. I actually honestly, I DNF'd it, but then I was like, well, let's see if it gets any better. It really didn't, unfortunately. There was a bit of language in it, and I think there was like there was one very, very small scene of 2 teenagers who were unclothed, but like there's nothing described or talked about. They're just lying next to each other, but it's like that did not technically have to be there. So, but other than that, it was a clean read, aside from like a few bits of bad language in between. But I don't know, I was not connected with the characters. The story was pretty slow. So this book is following a girl who she is very badly bullied, and she ends up killing a student. And so she is put into like juvie hall. And her father has basically disowned her. And so by the time she's 18, they either say, listen, you can stay here, but you have to like renounce your name and everything, because she's also half American and half Japanese, I believe. And so they don't want her anywhere, pretty much. So she's like, I'm going to go to America. I'm going to leave and go to college there. So she goes to college. She ends up getting married, having a kid, but she decides to go back home and tried to discover, a little bit about herself and stuff. And like the first half of the book was pretty good, but then it just got slower and slower and slower. And I was like, this is like, unfortunately, one of the most slowest books I have ever finished. So yeah, it's in my unhaul pile right now, ready to go. But at least it's a book off my TBR cart that I no longer want anymore. All right, next I started a new cozy mystery series. And this one was called Chaos at the Lazy Bones Bookshop, which my printer was being a meanie, so I can't read the author's name. It like oddly printed. All right, here we go. So it's Chaos at the Lazy Bones Bookshop by Emmeline Duckett. It is the first book in the Halloween Bookshop Mysteries. It's no magic. It's just, I guess, set during Halloween. And it was cute, but I really didn't connect with like the whodunit part. I was like, really? Like, is that why that person did it? Or, I couldn't really see like that was a good enough reason for somebody to get murdered. You know what I mean? I was like, it really didn't need to happen. So yes, I wasn't a huge fan of the whodunit. I was like, it should have been someone else, honestly. It didn't connect with me. And there wasn't like anything super Halloween-y in it. There was only like one part that had like a very small seance in it, so I skipped over that like 1 or 2 pages. It was a fake one, but I'm like, it didn't need to be there either, so I skipped like 1 or 2 pages. But the rest of the book was fine. No language, no romance, so the rest of it was clean. And yeah, so it was an okay read. I don't know if I will continue it. I like the idea about having it like set at the bookshop and stuff, and as I said, it wasn't super Halloween-y. Good choice of words there. All right, then I have 3 more mainstream fiction. The next one is called Small Favors by Erin A. Craig. This was actually a book rec from one of my friends, Maddie, over at This Bookish Cottage. She mentioned it on her channel. I'm like, that sounds really good. So I ended up giving it 4 stars. So it was very good. And from what I'm recalling, I don't think there was any language in it. There was like a few kissing scenes, but like there was nothing explicit or anything. I think it did like talk about romance a little bit more strongly, but like there was nothing, in the book. So I did end up enjoying it. And it was very different, and I liked it because it's definitely great for this time of the year for sure. But this one was kind of, I would say it was a mixture of like Twilight Zone, like a Twilight Zone episode, and like a dark fairy tale. So this one, there's a whole bunch of these people living in this town, and a few of the guys, like, they go out and they go hunt or whatever, but then they never return. Something is in the woods that is attacking the village people whenever they leave. And things just start escalating after that. People are arguing, people are fighting, people are killing each other, people are stealing, and something is very, very strange going on. We don't know if it's human, if it's, you know, creatures or whatever. Like, they're describing like weird creatures out in the forest, and you know, they're animals that are giving birth at home, like have like weird deformities and stuff when they're born and stuff. And so this girl is trying to figure out what's going on, what's happening. There's these mysterious new strangers that happen to come to town as well, and I really enjoyed the mystery of it all. I'm like, I wanted to know what was going on. Like, I wanted to know, like, was it actually human? Was it, you know, were there really creatures out there? So I was invested all the way until the ending. I will say there was quite a bit of gruesome descriptions of animals and people who were injured or killed in the story. So just be aware of that going into that. There is a few gruesome scenes. But other than that, I think for the most part it was clean. And yeah, just I was very invested in finding out what was going on by the end of the book. The next book I gave 4 stars, could be 4.5. I read The Spy and I by Tiana Smith. I heard that it was a clean romance read, and for the most part, I think it was. There was no swearing in it, and I think, but the makeout scenes were a little heavy, but there was no bedroom scenes, so I was very happy about that. And I did really love the action, and I really like the characters. So this one is about a girl who finds herself involved in spy business, which I love a good spy story. I love a good spy story. It was really good. So she's like some kind of like computer analyst thing, and I will say there was like a few like innuendos here and there, but like they weren't overly bad enough for me to DNF it. But there's this man who wants to like interview her for like a newspaper article or something. So she does that, and then she ends up going to like the restaurant to meet her sister. But then like this mysterious stranger comes up to her and says, "Hey, like, I need you to take this briefcase. There's some information in there you need to give to someone else. You know who it is." And she's like, "I know who it is." "No, I don't. Like, who are you? What's going on?" And then some bad guys come into the restaurant and shoot up the place. And it was very, very high action. It was a good time. Will I continue the series? We'll see. I did enjoy the action. I did enjoy the story. So as far as just, you know, the few innuendos and the kissing scenes, other than that, I will say it was pretty clean. I will say I sometimes give like a movie rating to like mainstream romance books, because Christian fiction, I would say honestly, most of them are PG rated for romance. So I would say a light PG-13, I would say, for romance for this book. So yeah. And the rest I talked about weren't really romance books, so. All right, then the last one, I did read a classic this month, which I was really excited about. The Blue Castle by Ella Montgomery, and I know a few people recommended this to me in years past, and it was actually part of my 12 books recommended by 12 author friends. So I'm hoping to finish that this year, but we'll see. We'll see. But this one was recommended to me by Laura France, and I love Laura. She is amazing. And so she recommended it to me, and I read it, and I fell in love with it. I gave it 5 stars. I was like, this is like probably my new favorite classic. I just had so much fun with it. And this one is about a girl named Valancy, and she's actually near my age. She was 29, I'm 32. It's close enough. But anyways, this is about Valancy, and she has just kind of been secluded, and she's been a recluse in her house. Her I think her mom and her sister or something, it's either aunt or mom, I think it's mom and sister, but they just kind of like tell her she was weak as a child, you know, so stay inside, you know, read or whatever. She's not even really honestly able to read that much. Like her family is like insistent, like, you can't even go to the library because, you know, we don't want you to read. And it's like, really, like, you know, beat him up. Anyways, so she one day goes to the doctor, and she finds out that she only has 6 months to live. And so she, instead of, hiding herself away even more, being more of a recluse, she decides to just up and just say, you know what? I am not going to take this anymore. I'm not going to take the talk that my family's giving me anymore. I'm going to do what I want to do. She was a spinster, as they call them back then. She wasn't married, and she's like, I want to find love. I want to do all the things. I don't care what anybody ever says. And so all of her family's thinking that she's going crazy. Like, should we put her in a loony bin? Because, like, she is absolutely crazy. Like, what is going on? This is not like her. And I just absolutely fell in love with Valancy. I just felt like we were such, kindred spirits, and I was just like, she's like so like me, I was like, especially in the beginning, like she was talking about like, make believing her like future husbands and stuff. And I'm like, I have totally done that for sure. And so I loved her character. And yeah, I don't think I could love a classic more than that one. I honestly feel like I could reread it, and I definitely need a copy of that book because it was just so cute, so sweet. Love the romance in it. It was a great time. Okay, now we can go into the Christian fiction. So I do have 2 3-stars, and I think one of them is over here. Yes, it is. So I finished Lethal Standoff by Diane Mills. This is actually sent to me from Just Read Tour, so thank you for that. And I gave it only 3 stars. I did like the action. It's about a hostage negotiator who is sent on some kind of like big high stakes case that has to do with a hostage situation at this brother's house in an abandoned house in South Texas. Well, the one brother is, I believe, already killed, and then the other one ends up killing himself during the hostage situation. And so they're trying to figure out what's going on with his family. What does it have to deal with? And so her, Carrington and Levi work closely together to try to solve the mystery. And I did like that, but this one hit really close to home for me, and I was like, this was very, very triggering for me personally, because the main character has to deal with a lot of eye problems, and I have eye problems. And so I was like, I really struggle with this. I was like, I pushed through, but I'm like, honestly, I probably would have DNF'd it if I didn't have to read it for a review. But aside from that, it was a pretty good read. It just wasn't my favorite of Diane Mills. I've read ones that I enjoyed more than that one from her. Next one that I read was Home Sweet Tiny Home by Melody Carlson. I also gave this one 3 stars, but I did enjoy this one. It was very cute. It's about an older protagonist, which I love older protagonists. I love reading about them. But she is, I believe, she's widowed, and her kids are all out of the house and everything. And she is like some kind of interior designer. And one day, she all of a sudden decides to just quit her job and move into a tiny home, because her daughter said, can you please record like a tiny home episode or something? So she's like, okay, I can do that. So she ends up like binge watching tiny home shows, and she's like, I really like that. She like lived in like a 5,000 square foot home. She's like, I'm done living in this huge house. I would just want to live in a tiny home. So she ends up moving to a nice coastal area where her and her husband used to go on vacation. So she ends up traveling there, trying to find a place to put her tiny home, which is a problem in its own. But then she meets a nice older gentleman who he wants to sell his entire property, but he's willing to lease some of the property to her. And it was just such a very sweet romance. Loved it. Her kids know none of this, what's going on, so that was a fun part of the story as well. But I really liked it. Honestly, it probably could have been closer to 3.5 to 4 stars, but I just gave it 3 stars. I guess just because it was not a whole lot going on, I will say. So, but it was good. I enjoyed it. Then the next book that I read, I think the rest I have physical books. Well, most of them I do. So yes, I do have most of the other ones physically. That's good. I think I did do a review on most of these in like my weekly Christian book reviews. So, because most of these were sent to from Baker Publishing for me. So thank you to them. So the first one is Her Christmas Catch by Toni Shiloh. I was actually on her launch team as well because I love Toni. And I'd love to support her. She's amazing. So I read this one. I only gave it 3.5 stars. Honestly, this is like probably the one that is not my absolute favorite of Tony's, but I still really liked it. I think honestly the ending just kind of threw me because it was like a quick close romance ending. And sometimes those I don't really enjoy. But the rest of the story I did enjoy. So this one is about a girl named BB and a man named I can't talk, Jaleel. And Jaleel is an NFL football player. He broke his either foot, leg, whatever, and he's now back home from the NFL, and he's trying to figure out, if I can't make it back into the NFL game, what's going to happen to me? And so she is in town, and they used to have a relationship, but they broke it off after high school, and she got married, and now she's divorced and has a child. And so they kind of, they're hesitant about each other and stuff, but the friendship is still there and everything, and both of them are tasked to come up with some fun ideas for a Christmas party at the church. And so really enjoyed the cute romance, like the setting of the whole getting together to create a party. Love that I don't know if you call Christmas trope or whatever, but it was super cute. But it was just 3.5 stars for me. I think it was because the ending, if the ending wasn't so like quick close, I think it would have been 4 stars, but I did still really enjoy it. Next book is Cold Vengeance by Nancy Mell, and I gave this one 4 stars. This is the final book in the Ryland and Sinclair series, and I did enjoy it. I liked the wrap-up of it. I did figure out who did it. I don't know if there's any clues like in book 1 or 2 on the underlining mystery throughout the series, but I did figure out like who did it in this book. It was, I feel, fairly obvious. But I did enjoy it. This one I felt was like a little bit more slow than the other 2 books in the series. I think this might be possibly my least favorite. It probably was closer to like 3.5 stars, but I did still really enjoy this one. And there's always like a new mystery involved in each one. So this one we're following a podcaster who deals with cold cases and stuff, and she ends up disappearing, and her boyfriend's like, I have no idea where she went, and I need your guys' help to figure it out. So really enjoyed that part of the mystery. That part of the mystery I was actually stumped on, and that one surprised me. So really enjoyed the whole series, and it makes me want to pick up some of her older series because I know those are very well loved, and I would like to try more of her series as well. Well, I don't think this video is going to be as long as I thought it was, so that's good. So the next 2 I finished the Cape Cod Creamery series, which I'm so happy I finished this roughly in the summertime. Actually, I did think I completed it before summer officially ended. So I finished The Secret to Happiness and Love on a Whim by Suzanne Wise Fisher. These are books 2 and 3 of the Cape Cod Creamery, and I did enjoy both of them. I will say though, just as a heads up, each book deals with tough topics of illness, either in the main character or a family member. So just be aware going into that. But I actually didn't let that, that didn't deter me from enjoying the stories. I really enjoyed the ice cream shop and all the side characters and the family members. I thought they were all really great, really fun. You can honestly read these all year long, as I believe the first book, which is The Sweet Life, that one is set, I think, in summer. And then the second book is I think set during the popsicles. It's set during winter time. So you can read this during winter time. And then Love on a Whim is set during spring. So it's kind of set all around the entire year. So you could easily read these one every 4 months, whatever. So really enjoyed these. Both gave these 4 stars. So really enjoyed the characters. I like the characters in these. I read Her Part to Play by Jenny Erlingson. This is a debut novel, I believe. And I just really enjoyed this one. I gave this one 4 stars. It's about a girl, Adane, which I love that name. I think it's a great name. But she is a makeup artist, and she gets a job at this movie set that is set in her hometown. And what the main male star of the movie doesn't realize is that he's met her before, and he got her fired from another job, and he doesn't remember. She does though. So she kind of treats him, a little bit, like she's got some attitude because, he got her fired, and he's like, what did I ever do to you? So I just really love it. And I really loved the character of John. He's actually a new Christian, which I love. I love stories like that. So he's a new Christian. He's trying to, I would say he's a renewed Christian because I believe he went to church growing up when he was little, but he just recently came back to the Lord. And I just really loved his story. I loved the romance. I thought it was so sweet. I loved their kind of enemies to friends to more story. And it was very cute. I really, really enjoyed this one. If you like the Hollywood lifestyle and stories like that, this is a really good one to pick up. And then I have another Christmas book. I did a review on these on Monday, so I was like, we should just get the Christmas books going. Why not? These, honestly, I think these are the only two I'm going to be reading until Christmas time, so there won't be any more Christmas books to talk about until at least the November wrap-up. So this one is The Christmas Tree Farm by Melody Carlson. I really like this one. I gave this one 4 stars, maybe 4.5. I really enjoyed it. So this one's about a girl named Madison, and she ends up leaving her job overseas and coming home to help with the Christmas tree farm because her sister took over after their grandmother passed away. Well, the sister really wants nothing to do with the farm. And so she's like, oh, what am I going to do? Like, I want this farm to still be profitable because she had such happy memories during her childhood and stuff. And then she runs into the next door neighbor who used to be her old flame. And he and his 2 daughters live next door. And so she's trying to figure out, what happened to us. Maybe there's hope for a second chance. I don't know. But it was just super cute. Really enjoyed this one. And the cover's one of my favorites. I really love the red truck. Well, red Jeep, actually. I actually like that touch. It's not a little red truck for Christmas. It's a red Jeep. I really like that touch. But really liked it. It was super cute. Then I have one book that I don't have a physical copy of, but I do want one. So this is a book that I wanted to read because the author is going to be at the Just Read Tour Rendezvous event that's happening in November. And I never read anything by this author. And her real name, I think it's her real name, she goes by 3 different names as authors, which I think is quite a bit, but that's okay. Her real name, I think, is Emily Haney. And she wrote a sci-fi book. I don't know if you guys know this, but I am slowly realizing that I'm a huge sci-fi girly. I love sci-fi so much. And I can't get enough. I'm like, give me all the sci-fi books now. I read 2 sci-fi books this month. I think it was just 2. Yeah, 2. But I just really, really, really love this one. Well, I would consider Small Favors like a sci-fi. A little bit fantasy sci-fi, but I read Suspended in the Stars, and I have to look up her name because I can't read it in my book. And I literally finished this last night. This was my last book of September. It's called Suspended in the Stars by E.A. Hendricks, and it is part of the Xerox, I think that's how I pronounce it, Xerox Galaxy Saga. And I believe the second book comes out in November, I think. So I'm very, very excited to read it. I'm so glad I read it now rather than months and months ago. So it's very close to when the second book comes out, and the covers are so, so cool. I was like, I need to get a copy of the first book. It's so pretty. I love the character art, the blue and the purple. I was like, yes, please, say less. So I picked it based on the cover. She had as I said, 3 different pen names she writes under. So I was like, which one should I pick? She has a contemporary romance series that's indie published. She's got this series that's indie published, the sci-fi series, and she's also got one traditionally published. And I was like, which one should I go for? And I was like, when I heard sci-fi, I was like, yes, that's the one. And I loved it. I gave it 5 stars, very close to 6 stars. And the audiobook was great because there's 2 narrators, one for the girl, one for the guy. And I was like, yes, say less. And I will say I was more invested in the male protagonist. I really love the narrator's voice. Even though he's technically supposed to be upper teens, low 20s age, I feel like his voice was closer to 30. But his voice was great for any sci-fi character. I was like, ooh, he had a great voice for narration. So really loved his character. The narrator, I think she was from Australia or something, because it definitely sounded Australian. I was like, that's an interesting narrating choice, unless the author's from Australia, which I don't think she is. But really, really loved this one. It's about a girl who is in hiding and a boy on the run. And so it also has a little bit of a circus story, which I love. So she is on this spaceship, and she is a circus performer, and she's also hiding a very big secret, which I don't know if it's in the synopsis or not, so I'm very glad that I didn't actually read the synopsis because I didn't want to spoil it, because I really like not knowing. But I also really loved, her name was Talia, and his name was Renner. I really liked Renner a lot. I loved his character. So he's kind of like, you know, a little bit of the, like, she sees him as the bad boy, but is he really? So I just really I loved the action. I loved the adventure. It was high stakes, like, throughout the entire story. There was trapeze artist tricks and such fun stuff throughout. It was definitely very, very sci-fi, very, very adventurous and fun. And I cannot wait for the second book. It's going to be a blast finding out what's going to happen next. But really, really loved it. Definitely has a little bit of, like, political intrigue as well going on, and I loved it. So definitely check it out if you're a fan of sci-fi books. And I don't know if it's technically labeled as Christian fiction. I should look it up. There really is no faith content in it from what I'm remembering. So yes, there is a few kissing scenes in it, but other than that, it was great. Loved it so much. And yeah, so even the kissing scenes, they were great too. So the last book that I have for you, which I do have a physical book copy of, and I can take it off. I can take it off of my signed books that I haven't read yet, because I actually have finally finished this book. So Brand of Light by Ronna Kendig. I was like, I'm just sitting down, I'm gonna listen to the audiobook and finish it, because I started this like back in May. So bad of me, I know, but I finally finished it and I loved it. It was 5 stars. I cannot wait to continue it. Again, another sci-fi series. I tell you, if I find sci-fi series that I love, I'm probably gonna give them all like 5, 6 stars, because this one was so good. And this one, if you want to get into a sci-fi series on audio, listen to the audio of this. The narrator is phenomenal. He's my favorite narrator to this date. I can't remember his name right now, but he does so many different voices. He does sound effects where, like, it sounds like people are actually speaking over intercoms, like from spaceship to spaceship. And then when the alien voices pop in, I'm telling you, I had to contact Ronnie, and I was like, Ronnie, your narrator is phenomenal, and that alien voice, I told her my heart rate skyrocketed, which it did. I looked at like my ratings for my heart rate, and it did go up during like that time. It was like 11 a.m. or something while I was reading it. Yeah, that narrator is fantastic, and I'm like, I cannot wait to pick up the rest of the series. He only does books 1 through 4, I think. Yeah, 1 through 4. But he might not do 4. I know he does 1 through 3 at least. But I know he doesn't do the last one. There's like two narrators, male and female, for that one, which I'm totally fine with, but I would have loved if he did it, but that's okay. You know, things happen. But he is just really, really great, and I cannot recommend the audiobook more in this series. Brand of Light was so good. I love the narration. I love the story. This one is about a girl, and something happens where her whole civilization is pretty much, her whole family is wiped out. And so she ends up being captured by like some other people and stuff. And I just really loved, you know, what was going on. They all have like a gifted mark or something that's gifted, of course, you know, by God. And so it was just really, really great. Loved the whole story. It was really good. And I cannot wait to read the second book. So I can actually put this in my, I'm going to put it in my favorite shelf. So I don't know exactly where we're going to put it right now, because, you know, we got no room over here. But we'll just put it, well, right there for now. We need some reorganizing here. Oh, that's not the last book. I do apologize. It is not, because I didn't put a sticker there, because silly me. I was like, oh, I got all the covers of the books and everything all nice and neat. Nope, I forgot one. So I'll just have to print it next month, because I'm not going to waste a whole sticker paper on one book. So, but I finished this one, and this one was 6 stars. The romance in this, Saved by the Matchmaker by Jody Headland. The first book in this series, I only gave 3 stars. Honestly, it really was not a favorite. I didn't really enjoy the romance, didn't enjoy the characters. But when I read the ending of the first book, and we kind of got a hint at who's going to be the couple in the second book, I was like, I need a copy of this book, because it's going to be absolutely amazing. And it so was. The romance in here was so great. I'm not going to say anything, because I did do a review on it. But you should go into this not really knowing anything. You know, read the first book, then come back to this one, because it was so good. Really enjoyed it. The romance in here was just like if you want, like, you know, Pepper Basham level romance, like the Suni kissing scenes and stuff, she's got some competition in this book, because I really, really, really loved the characters in this book, especially our main male protagonist, Sullivan. I loved Sullivan. He was like, you know, that the quintessential tortured hero, and I was just like, yes, please. Like, it's a new book crush for sure. I really loved Sullivan so much, so definitely check it out. So that is the last book that I have for you today. It was a chaotic month, but I did a lot of reading, and I accomplished that 30 books in 30 days, which I honestly did not think I was going to. And I did not keep up to date, though, in my Instagram. I think I stopped, like, on the 27th or 28th, and I was like, I keep forgetting to update you guys. But I did officially complete the 30 books in 30 days challenge, and it was so much fun. And definitely some of, like, the last books that I mentioned were, like, some of my favorites of the year. They were just so good. Really highly recommend all the books that, I gave really good ratings to. All right, so I hope you all have a wonderful day. Let me know what your favorite book was in September. Should I read it? Have you ever read any of these? Even if you didn't like it, we can talk about it in the comments. I'm not gonna, if you didn't like it, that's okay. We all have different tastes, and it also depends on, like, our mood. Like, sometimes I'm in the mood for a really slow romance. Sometimes I'm in the mood for a high action adventure, and sometimes I read the wrong book in the wrong mood, and that's sometimes that happens with my star ratings. All right, so I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I will see you all in the next video.